In episode 70, Issue versus Risk, Boundaries and Handoffs, we examine one of the most persistent sources of confusion in governance, knowing when uncertainty becomes reality. Many organizations blur the line between a risk, which might occur, and an issue, which already has. This ambiguity leads to duplicate effort, delayed decisions, and misdirected ownership. Clarity in these boundaries preserves agility. When teams understand exactly when to switch modes, from anticipation to response, they manage change instead of chasing it. Distinguishing between risks and issues is not just semantic. It defines how attention, accountability, and resources flow in moments that matter.
A risk is an uncertain future event or condition that, if it occurs, will affect objectives. It lives in the domain of potential probabilities, trends, and what-if analysis. Risk management seeks to reduce likelihood or impact through foresight. It is the discipline of prevention and preparedness. Examples include the possibility of supplier insolvency, software delays, or policy shifts. These events have not happened yet, but their possibility influences planning. The value of risk work lies in imagination tempered by evidence, thinking ahead about vulnerabilities so they can be addressed before disruption occurs.
An issue, by contrast, is a realized problem happening now. It demands immediate action, not forecasting. Issues have moved beyond probability into fact. The supplier has failed, the system is down, the cost has exceeded budget. Issue management coordinates containment, correction, and recovery. It focuses on minimizing damage and restoring stability. The difference between risk and issue is timing, but that timing changes everything. Risk uses models and options, issues use procedures and accountability. Confusing the two undermines both functions, leaving organizations unprepared before and chaotic after events unfold. The transition between risk and issue rarely happens suddenly. Early signals often show the shift coming. Indicators drift out of range, controls stop performing, or dependencies falter. These moments mark the threshold when a risk begins to materialize. Recognizing them early allows smoother handoffs. Teams should define criteria for when a monitored risk crosses into active issue status. For example, when probability becomes 100% or when a trigger condition is met. Treating these thresholds deliberately turns reactive firefighting into managed activation, ensuring continuity of control as uncertainty becomes reality. Once the line is crossed, a handoff protocol ensures clarity of ownership. Responsibility transfers from the risk manager or owner to the issue coordinator or incident lead. The handoff should include summary context, what was anticipated, what controls existed, and what triggers fired. This information gives the issue team a head start, enabling faster response grounded in prior analysis. Ownership transfer should be recorded formally to prevent overlapping claims. Clear handoffs mean everyone knows who leads, who supports, and what the current mission is. Mitigation becomes containment. Strategy becomes execution. Duplicate tracking breeds confusion and waste. When the same event appears simultaneously in a risk register and an issue log, teams lose focus and data integrity suffers. A risk converted to an issue should be marked realized or transferred rather than copied. Its record continues as a traceable reference, not an active item. Maintaining one authoritative entry prevents reporting errors and mixed messaging. Duplication is more than clerical clutter. It creates cognitive noise. By keeping each event in its proper home, organizations preserve clarity of communication and coherence of accountability. Integration with the incident management process bridges prevention and response. Incident teams handle real-time events, technical failures, operational breakdowns, or security breaches. When a risk materializes into an incident, the risk record becomes input for incident management, providing context on expected impacts and prior mitigations. After resolution, the flow reverses. Incident outcomes feed lessons back into risk planning. This integration closes the gap between forecasting and execution. It transforms risk and incident functions from parallel tracks into a continuous loop of readiness, response, and learning. Even after an issue has been resolved, residual risk often remains. The event may reoccur or leave weakened controls behind. Residuals must be documented, assigned, and monitored just like any other risk. Treating the issue as finished without assessing what exposure remains invites repetition. By re-entering residuals into the risk register, organizations ensure continuity of oversight. This process demonstrates maturity, the understanding that response ends only when stability is verified and vulnerability reassessed. Closure of the issue does not erase the potential for recurrence. It merely resets the cycle of observation. Sometimes an issue reveals that appetite or tolerance thresholds were breached. These moments warrant review. If controls failed or response costs exceeded expected impact, leadership must reassess whether defined risk limits remain valid. Appetite is not static. It evolves with experience. A breach may indicate either poor calibration or changed conditions. Revisiting thresholds after major issues ensures governance remains grounded in evidence, not optimism. This reassessment keeps the framework aligned with real-world performance, reinforcing that tolerance levels are living boundaries rather than theoretical constructs. Communication must flow across both forums, risk and issue management. Teams managing one side should know the status of the other. Regular cross-reporting avoids siloed thinking. When issues close, risk dashboards should reflect updated exposure. When new risks arise from incidents, they should be visible in planning sessions. Shared visibility sustains coherence across time horizons, short-term firefighting and long-term resilience working hand in hand. Communication converts parallel processes into shared awareness, ensuring that no critical insight remains trapped in one discipline's documentation. Capturing lessons closes the loop. Each issue offers information about detection, response timing, and assumption accuracy. Were triggers effective? Were response plans realistic? Lessons extracted from real events feed directly into improved risk identification and monitoring criteria. They also strengthen future handoffs by clarifying what worked and what failed in transitions. Documentation of lessons should be concise and action-oriented, not ceremonial. Over time, this practice transforms experience into institutional foresight, ensuring that every event, even a setback, contributes to collective improvement. After lessons are captured, relevant items must be restored to monitoring lists. Closed issues may generate new risks or modify existing ones. Reintegration keeps oversight continuous. For example, a system outage might produce a new risk around backup testing or vendor dependency. Adding these items back into monitoring routines ensures vigilance remains unbroken. This restoration step closes the administrative cycle and symbolically rebalances focus from reaction back to prevention. In this rhythm, the organization turns each disruption into renewed discipline. Education cements these distinctions. Teams benefit from short refreshers on what defines a risk versus an issue, how transitions work, and where to document each state. These refreshers prevent drift over time, especially as staff turnover introduces new participants. Simple visual aids, a decision tree or quick reference guide, reinforce boundaries during daily work. Continuous education sustains clarity long after policies are written. When everyone shares the same definitions, handoffs become smooth, responses fast, and accountability unquestioned. Knowledge consistency keeps operational energy directed toward outcomes, not arguments over terminology. Clear boundaries between risks and issues accelerate response and strengthen governance. They ensure that attention, authority, and information move efficiently as situations evolve. Crisp definitions prevent management thrash, the confusion that wastes time and erodes confidence during critical moments. By distinguishing between what might happen and what is happening, organizations manage uncertainty with both foresight and precision. In this discipline of boundary and handoff, risk management and issue management become two halves of one resilient system, working seamlessly to transform surprise into structure and chaos into control. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit DailyCyber.News.